And Jerry Sheehan, the Executive Associate Dean at the Fletcher School, and Katie Mulroy, the Associate Director of Student Affairs at the Fletcher School, will introduce Kirsten Zeiter.
So Katie's on my right. Katie, perhaps more than anyone, has worked most closely with Kirsten in her 2 years at Fletcher. And of course, this is Kirsten on my left. Now, Kirsten has been here before, not necessarily in this room for this particular ward, but several years ago at her undergraduate institution. She was the senior who was recognized for leadership and public service. So in a sense, this is round two, but it's no less special. After Kirsten graduated, she went into the Peace Corps, not surprisingly, given her background and her interest, and she worked for 2 years in a rural municipality in Morocco on youth development programs, and there were many accomplishments there, but I think I want to mention just one because it leads into one of the comments I want to make with respect to her time at Fletcher, and that is she raised several $1,000s to launch a women's soccer league, which was region-wide. And I mention Women's Soccer League because Kirsten is passionate about gender issues, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the things she's done at Fletcher in her 2 years in that particular area. There are many examples, but I'm going to give just three. The first is that she led the effort to organize Fletcher's first annual conference on gender and international affairs, a conference that engaged not only the Fletcher community, but also engaged the Tufts and the broader Boston communities. Indeed, well over 40% of the participants were non-Fletcher individuals. She was also the funding and logistics chair for this particular conference. And she secured funding from 15 different partners for this conference. Now, as a person in charge of the budget for the school, I was particularly pleased to see that she did that, and she didn't come walking back to Katie and I looking for additional support for the conference. As a logistics chair, she managed over 50 volunteers, and many of those volunteers are now working on the second annual conference, which will occur next year. Second, Kirsten was one of a number of students who worked with several of our faculty to design and secure approval for the first new field of academic concentration at Fletcher in well over a decade, a field of gender analysis in international affairs. Third, Kirsten is currently working with one of our faculty on developing programming for a new women's leadership and gender equality program, which is to be launched next fall. Let me transition away from that particular issue, that particular topic. Kirsten has served on our student council for each of the past 2 years. She's been elected to the student council each year. And so it's on student council that I've got to know Kirsten best. And I probably shouldn't say this here, Kirsten, I've never told you this, but that first year you were so serious and so directed that I wondered if you had a sense of humor. But I've learned, actually, there's much more to Kirsten than that serious nature. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But I want to just give one example with respect to Kirsten's service on the student council. Last year, she observed that many of our students felt uncomfortable or were not benefiting fully from the group work, the study groups, which are ubiquitous at Fletcher. So I turned to Kirsten and the student council meeting. I said, Kirsten, why don't you put together a document that we will distribute to all of our incoming students at orientation? Well, she did me one better. She put together a workshop and she delivered it during our orientation program, and it was an exceptionally well-received workshop on how to benefit from group study during your time at the school. Now, Kirsten's done many other things at Fletcher and at Tufts. She served on the Academic Affairs Committee of the Board of Trustees as the student representative, and Katie could run through a number of other issues, but I want to come back to the part that she's not all serious. She is a member in good standing. She's an integral member of the Fletcher student cover band, Los Flecheros. She is the trumpet player, and she's in fact quite an accomplished trumpet player. And if you want to see another side of the Fletcher School, check them out on YouTube, check them out on Facebook, or Saturday night, Thunder Road, Somerville, 8 p.m., $10 tickets online. Kirsten, congratulations.
Thank you so much.